pressure makes diamonds, and you have to put yourself in risky situations to gain something. You have to sacrifice things to get things. Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the J Wells CFO Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Wells, enrolled agent and accountant, and my guest today is Fernando Crisantos, a commercial real estate agent. So with that, going to turn it over to you, Fernando. Tell us about your business. Tell us about what you do day to day and how you're helping people.
Yeah, so I currently work for this company called SVN, or Sperry Van S, Vanguard. We specialize in commercial assets, whether it's industrial buildings, apartments, retail, office, and we focus in the Orange County area with offices across the U.S. We actually have offices in Florida as well. I know that's where you're situated currently, and so we do leasing, sales, ground leases, anything involving commercial real estate. We do it.
Good deal. Good deal. So what, I think 99% of people, when they deal with a realtor, they're thinking about buying a house, right? And so that's more on the residential side. So what are some of the similarities and differences between residential real estate versus commercial real estate?
Yeah, so they're two completely different worlds. Residential, of course, is targeted to single-family residences. In commercial, you typically work with investors or companies that focus in that product type. If you start doing owner-user industrial buildings, of course, you're working with business owners that have a different perspective of how they look at of real estate, and it's more of a business. So you talk about different metrics like a cap rate or a return, NOI, ROI. So that's a little bit different than how a homeowner would view an investment in a home. Definitely.
Gotcha. So when is the marketing, is the like trying to go out there and get started and finding clients, is that a different world too? Is that a different process too?
Yeah. Just because these individuals are a lot more sophisticated than the average person, it's a little more difficult to break into because you really have to know what you're talking about when you're talking to a guy who's been doing it for 30 years. So it's interesting because the average age of the commercial broker is 6 years old, and it makes sense because you kind of have to have a little bit of real life knowledge to understand, an asset of that type. So definitely.
Gotcha. So it's harder to break into when you're younger. So does that mean usually you're seeing like how would you get started in commercial real estate, right? If you had no experience whatsoever, would you be better off going into residential first and then trying to work up to commercial, or is it something that you just go into from the beginning?
Yeah, that's a common misconception people have. They kind of start residential and think like, I'm working towards going to commercial. And I would advise to just avoid all that. Go straight into it as young as possible so you can start getting groomed into concepts, and you start bumping and rubbing shoulders with these individuals that are the developers and investors, because it's like breaking a habit. Like once you start making a little money in residential, it's gonna be really hard to transition, and you really need to be around the peers, the language, the individuals, the lifestyle, the mentality. Everything is a little bit different, in my opinion, I believe, at least.
That's interesting. I think taxes kind of work a little bit similarly, right? Taxes and accounting, because there's this idea that you start working with individuals and families and doing their 1040s, and then you kind of work your way up to working with businesses. But I got started. I got thrown into it with working with small business owners, right? And so it's kind of and because it's the same thing. When you're a small business owner, there's not really that difference, and I'm talking as one, right? There's not that difference
Yeah.
between business and personal. I mean, formally there should be. You should have your business bank account and your personal bank account. But in terms of the way you're thinking about money day to day, it's all the same, right? If my business is doing well, then I'm personally doing well. If my business isn't doing well, then my family is hurting, right? And so
Right.
I think that's interesting that in real estate, because when you say the average age of the commercial realtor is substantially older, and then I'm working with realtors, for residential realtors that tend to be younger, right? In their 20s and 30s, and maybe this is either like their first career, or this is something that they start doing on the side, because they're not really happy with their 9 to 5 job or whatever, and they're looking to make some extra money, and then it starts working, and so they go out and do this. But yeah, the residential realtors that I tend to see tend to be a lot younger.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting that the average age in your field would be so much older, relative to what you see on the residential side. But no, it's interesting that it's not necessarily, think of residential as a gateway to commercial, but just jump into it and go ahead and start building experience there.
Yeah, and it's not easy. When I first started, I was working at a restaurant. I was living at home, and I've been doing this for 5 years. It took me 3 years to break into it, to kind
Wow.
of start supporting myself on my own. So it's not for everybody. You really either need to have a really good support system, um, and also be dedicated and self-disciplined, and then also just have no fear and be relentless. Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate. I don't know what I did right, but it's working. Currently, year to date, I'm number 38 in the country for my company, out of 1,600 advisors, which is amazing. When
Wow.
everybody up there is average 60 years old, and
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy just to be up on stage once a year, and yeah, I mean, it's
Wow.
amazing.
Good deal. Good deal. That's awesome, man. So what area are you working in?
Yeah, so we're getting General Orange County. I do
Okay.
focus in Santa Ana just because I don't know if you're familiar with Santa Ana. A lot of people probably aren't, but it's the county seat for Orange County. It is downtown Orange County. It's just one of the cities that, through kind of minorities living there and the court being there and all the crime that goes on, has kind of been forgotten and lost.
Mm.
But it is revolutionizing. It's like an old downtown that's trying to get life back, life again. So I'm kind of focused in that area, but I do focus in general Orange County and every product type. I don't just focus in a certain product type. I'm more of a specialist of downtown Orange County, Santa Ana.
Good deal. Good deal. So what kind of properties are you talking about mostly that you're working with? Because I mean, you said commercial, industrial, but if you're talking about a downtown area, like what's actually going on there?
Yeah, so there's this really inspiring developer. His name is Mike Hara. He's
Okay.
he's developing the tallest skyscraper in Orange County, and
Wow.
it's going to be in Santa Ana. It's like 12 years in the making, and there's been a lot of moving pieces. I'm not involved in that project, but because of that, a lot of investors have been kind of flocking to Santa Ana. So I'm dealing with retail properties, 2-story, 3-story retail properties that are anywhere from 5,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet. Also apartments, since we do need more housing in a lot of areas in
Yeah.
the United States, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of like developing rehabbing older units to modernize them, and industrial owner user buildings. One of my biggest deal making clients, and that is the plug for them, is Suavecito pomade. You guys ever use them?
Gotcha.
They make like a really slick hair product. If you want to look like
Oh,
Don
okay.
Draper from Mad
Cool. Yeah.
Men, that's you
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
wear
Yeah.
that.
Right. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, so they're buying industrial buildings for their use, and using the SBA loan program, which is pretty
Okay.
interesting. As an owner user, you can get down like 15% of a down payment on a property.
Wow.
Cool.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So that's another difference that is occurring to me the more we're talking is so with a residential sale, like if I just go buy a house, right, then it's pretty much up to whatever bank or mortgage broker I'm trying to get the mortgage from, for them to say that my credit's good enough, my proof of income looks good enough, and so we think this guy is actually going to pay back the mortgage, and so we'll loan him the money to buy this house, right? And then it's up to me to
Right.
bring the down payment and pay the closing costs and that kind of thing. So how is the how does closing look like in a commercial transaction? How is the how what's the decision making process in terms of where the financing is coming from, who gets involved in the financing, all those kinds of things?
That's a good question. Although I don't do the loan part of the deal.
Sure.
Um, with every deal that I do, it's always something different. It's always something new, and it's a little bit more different than residential because it's a lot more creative. You can do seller financing where the owner carries the note, and then you don't have to go through a bank, and you kind of organize everything
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can get yeah, you can get an SBA loan, a small business association. What I was just talking about. You can do conventional. You can do a joint venture where a person owns a property and a developer comes in and they put the money in and they kind of split the profit. So it's a lot more creative, which is kind of always fun because then you just start to see how the different ways you can put a deal together, which is
Yeah.
cool.
That is cool. That is interesting. So I guess again, just coming from this frame of reference that I have with residential, like before you get to the point of financing, you're worried about the inspector saying that the structure looks good and sound, and then you're worried about the appraiser coming in and saying that the value is on target. Is that a similar process with commercial, or is it different in terms of how you actually get to, okay, this is what we think it's worth, so this is what we're willing to pay?
Yeah, exactly. The appraisal, same thing. They still have to come in and do that process. Something that is not really common with residential, although it might happen sometimes, is an environmental report. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's another hurdle that could be a huge situation, a huge challenge. I was working on a property where a neighboring property was contaminated, and the way the water ran underground water ran, it posed an issue to the property because it was in the downstream of where the contamination was uphill.
Yeah.
So we had to bring a land assessor that looked at the topography, and it just barely missed that cut, and it worked out. But had it been a different situation, that was something that's beyond our control at that point.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So, what you said, you're dealing with a more, sophisticated clientele. You're dealing with serious business people that, will probably have a lot of staff, a lot of accountants, a lot of finance people advising them and that kind of thing. So what is your role as the agent in helping these transactions and helping your clients in these deals then?
Yeah, so my number one role is to actually find the deals. And a lot of people see, like once you're a little like successful, they just see the end product, but it's cold calling, it's late nights at the office, it's pounding the pavement, knocking on doors, and just kind of learning to kind of talk to people and understand what they need to be able to kind of see how you can help them and plug somebody else together in the mix. So that's my main goal. On top of that, I'm an advisor to kind of help them with to I guess it's almost like an accommodator to help them find people they need for banking or environmental reports and appraisal, to kind of plug everybody in.
Yeah.
But it really helps to know all these things a little bit more than a surface level, just so you know what you're talking about, so you don't get taken advantage of, which is very common with a lot of people, and just to be a very well-rounded, jack of all trades in that respect.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Good deal. That's cool. That's interesting. So does a client usually come to you because they're interested in a specific property, or do they tell you this is what we're looking for, and so now you have to go find something that's going to work for them?
Yeah. So both cases. Sometimes they need a certain a property. So I'm cold calling, for example, 20,000 square foot industrial buildings, and
Gotcha.
I'm talking to everybody in the area. Or sometimes they want to sell, and since I'm kind of getting to know everybody in this territory, that's kind of like my listing presentation where I kind of show my value than just putting up a sign and hoping someone calls on it. I actually know the individuals in the market, so that's pretty
Gotcha.
powerful there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. So you said you've been doing this about 5 years. When did it start? When did it start to become real to you? When did you, or have you yet? Did there come a day where you woke up and you said, okay, this is it. This is, I am a commercial real estate agent.
Honestly, like a week after I started, like I didn't give myself an option to do anything else. Like I was very committed, but when I really started to hit the ground running was about 2 years ago. And it's pretty dumb to say, but you kind of need things to kind of motivate you in life, and that was, as cheesy as it sounds, my current girlfriend at the moment. I was a young guy, kind of just having too much fun, and that kind of grounded me to be like, holy crap, like I have to be a provider now. I have to do something. And you start getting a little more serious about life when things like that happen. So, yeah.
Man, I can relate to that. Yeah, because I was in grad school at Louisiana State University, and so it was a lot of football and tailgating, a lot of Mardi Gras parties, a lot of just enjoying life, and then yeah, same thing happened to me. My girlfriend and now wife, she moved in with me, and it was okay. When are you gonna get this done so you can get a job? And then 2 years ago my daughter was born, and it was kind of another moment because the job I was in, I just really wasn't that happy with it, and it was another one of those moments of okay, I need to find something that's going to work. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely hear you on that. It's funny how you start off thinking this career is going to determine your life and your livelihood, and for me at least, it kind of flipped around, right? Like the way my life was going made me question my career and kind of
Mhm.
rethink what I was really committed to, what I really wanted to do. So yeah,
Right.
it's a great story. Yeah.
Right, but I think it's important to do because you really find yourself in the career without having
Right.
the pressure of performing. You
Yeah.
kind of decide how you want to have your career, and then once that kicks in, then you kind of have a game plan of how incorporating what you thought it was and what it can be and what it is together. I think it's important too.
Absolutely. That's great, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So you got into commercial real estate. I'm assuming, most realtors, they're contractors, they're self-employed people. So when did you start thinking, when did you start realizing, okay, I'm running a business, at this point?
So I was still working at the restaurant about 2 years ago, and it hit me when I walked in there, and I was just like, I quit because I was able to quit. It was the best
Yeah.
feeling. I've been waiting for this moment for my whole life, and
Yeah.
it happened. And then I left, and I had like I think $10,000 in my bank, thinking that it was all the money in the world. I'm just like, once
Yeah.
that starts to dry up, you're like, oh crap! Like
Right.
I have to make this happen because I don't want to go back to that restaurant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it was a mixture of just you know pushing myself and just I've always enjoyed it. I mean, it's a really fulfilling, fun career, and I take it very seriously because there's a lot on the line. But it's
Yeah.
I don't like to call myself a realtor because I'm more than that. I'm an advisor. I like to feel and a lot of my clients are my personal friends now. We go out to dinner, we hang out, and
Cool.
it's almost like I feel invested in their business because I help them so much, and at the same time they're helping me and kind of grow each other.
Right. Accounting is a very similar thing in terms of, a lot of accountants are really trying to redefine that stereotypical image of the accountant, right? Not
Right,
just the bean counter, not just the tax guy, something more than that. More of a
right,
more of an ally, more of a partner to families and small businesses, that kind of thing. So yeah, I
right,
think I think that's true. I think the more the more technology starts to automate the kind of work we're doing and that kind of stuff. I mean, I know for residential realtors, Zillow and Trulia and those kind of apps that make it really easy for people to find a property or whatever. But you still need that professional there that is
yeah.
is doing that work for you that an app or an algorithm can't do for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, because there's always going to be loopholes or different ways to do things or different ways to approach something that maybe a computer can't do. Like it's a little more personal than that. And our business can be a little more relationship as well, like based and just getting numbers done.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
Yeah.
what hey, obviously you're doing well, you're enjoying what you're doing, but thinking back over the last couple of years, what are some of the challenges that you face? What are some of the trying points, some of the points that maybe made you start questioning this a little bit and thinking maybe I got to go back to the restaurant? Like
Yeah.
what did those challenges look like?
I listen to a lot of like I guess you would call them self-help like podcasts or books. Like there's Ed Milet, Grant Cardone, all those people. So and just thinking back, it's really, and it's horrible to say, but it was like my family and my friends, because going into something that was commission based only, of course they all want the best for you, and sometimes like when you put yourself in a risky situation that can pay off, they really don't care about the payoff, they care about the risk you're putting yourself in. So it would tell me like, hey, don't do that, get a real job, like get to work, like you're wasting your time. So just that was a big challenge, to be able to still keep my friends and family, but also be able to like divide that separation and say like, I can do this. This is for me. They're only worried about my well-being, but
Yeah.
pressure makes diamonds, and you have to put yourself in risky situations to gain something. You have to sacrifice things to get things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's this traditional mentality of employment, traditional employment, a W-2 job means security, right?
Sure.
But then there's the counter to that it's only secure insofar as that company you're working for is successful, is doing the right thing, because they could close shop tomorrow, and then you're out just as much as if your business folds, and so, but at least when it's your business, you're in control, right? You're in control of how hard you work, you're in control of how many hours you put in, you're in control of
Sure.
those relationships that you're developing, and how many clients you're serving, so that if one client decides not to use you anymore, well, that's okay, you still got all these other clients and the ability to go get more clients.
Right, and that's such so beautiful, and you hit it right on the nail, because you can choose your clients. Like,
Yeah.
life is so stressful already, and I hate to say it to the clients that were stressful that are maybe watching this, but like sometimes the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that I'm gonna have to remember that one. I like that, I like that line. Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So, um, what about actually like the day-to-day job of running the business, right? And so, there's Fernando as the agent, right? Fernando as the commercial real estate agent. But then now there's also Fernando business owner, right? And so how did you feel, as you were getting more experience, getting more traction as an agent? How did you feel about Fernando as business owner?
I loved it. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and that's kind of why I started this career, because I wanted to build my own business. So with that, I'm still learning. I'm only 28 years old, but I'm surrounded by a group of just amazing peers and mentors. So I'm still filling those big shoes of the business, because I do have huge expectations and a huge vision of what I want to do. So little by little, incorporating an assistant, incorporating a couple juniors to kind of train them to do what I do, and so that I can just keep going out there prospecting and talking to people, which is what I'm good at, and helping them. And also starting a podcast like you have here.
Yeah.
And another little plug, it's called From the Ground Up. We have a website up. It's called fromthegroundupcre.com. It's up, but it's not 100% finalized, so don't judge us on that.
Good
And
deal. Good deal. We'll make sure there's a link to that in the show notes and the description then. Yeah, for sure.
cool. Yeah.
So what are you going to be doing on the podcast?
Similar to what you're doing. So we're bringing in developers, investors, 1031 exchange experts, everybody that's involved with every facet of commercial real estate, lenders, accountants as well, maybe even some fitness personal trainers to keep the mind part of the aspect. So
Right.
yeah, it's just like a group to kind of, I guess our mission statement is to bridge that gap of the 60-year-old commercial agent, to kind of make that younger, and make it more accessible to younger people.
I like that. I like that. Trying to reach out to the younger generation, the next generation of commercial real estate agents.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal. Awesome. I so you mentioned that you're starting to put together a staff. When along the line do you decide, hey, this is this is when I need help, right? This is when I need to start bringing people on. I can't do all
Yeah.
this myself.
I wish I had a better answer. I'm just going to say what people have told me, because I'm not implementing it. But they say that if you get an assistant, like it'll just save you so much time and you'll be more productive. But I have a hard time letting go. I used to cut my own hair because I guess you could say a control freak a little bit. And it's just hard for me to let go because no one's going to do it as well as I'm going to do it because I really care. So I guess it's just a matter of finding the right people and just jumping into it because you're never, I mean, at least if you're like me, you're never going to really want to let go of something. And, it's really tough for me, but uh, I'm trying.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so as a small business owner, the finances are, a big part of that and that kind of thing. So what led you to decide to get help on the financial side of running the business?
In terms of financial side, like,
Yeah. So the taxes and the bookkeeping and things like that.
right.
Yeah. When did you, what made you say, yeah, I think I need help with this?
Uh, my first big paycheck, my first big payday, and getting slapped with taxes and just
Mm,
watching all that go away, my hard work go away, and I really didn't know how I had it set up. I was kind of using somebody that my family had referred me to that they were using, but they're in a completely different industry. They're W-2 employees. So
yeah.
I was referred to you by John Davis in our office, who used to somebody that knew you,
Mhm.
and so he referred me to you, and so far it's been going great. I'm set up on it's the bookkeeping plus what's the other one?
The tax side of,
Okay,
yeah,
so it's tax plus
yeah,
bookkeeping.
right.
Yeah, I mean it's so easy. It's just I mean you automate everything for me, so that's great. And yeah, so it's nice to have someone like you on my side that understands these aspects of the business that I'm still learning about because there's so many there's so many parts of it that I'm too busy working on my business, and I love that you're basically an addition to the team where you kind of run that for me. So
Good deal. Awesome, man. I'm glad you feel that way. Yeah, that's definitely what I try to do. The CFO part of that, when I tell prospects and clients that, when you start a small business, you're the CEO, you're the chief everything officer, right? You got to take care of all of it. You got to do your job, plus you got to run the business, plus you got to run the finances, plus you got to customer and client relations, plus you got to be the receptionist, you got to take the trash out, right? Like you got to do
yeah,
everything. And so figuring out that first kind of set of jobs to find some help with, put that out there, and so yeah, I think in a lot of companies, you've got the chief executive officer and you've got the chief financial officer, and so yeah, I really try to make people feel like, okay, the finance side of things are taken care of. So no, that's great to hear. I appreciate you saying that.
yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So looking back at for Fernando of 2 years ago, 5 years ago, what, if somebody was just thinking about getting started, right now, what are some recommendations that you would give to that person if somebody, 23, 24-year-old came up to you and said, I really want to get into this commercial real estate thing. What recommendations would you give them?
Okay, first of all, you should do it. It's a very fulfilling career. Second of all, find a way to keep your mental stability, your positive attitude. Whether it's like self-help books or just yoga or fitness or something, you have to find a way to ground yourself and just refresh yourself every day. And also join a brokerage, not by the name of the company, but by the people that make the company. Um, that's huge. That's so huge. Just to find at least a mentor or a group of people that can help you, because they're the ones that are going to elevate you to that next level and and help you succeed. So that those would be like the three main things that I'd
That's
say.
awesome. No, for sure. Because
Yeah.
yeah, you said you got referred eventually to me. And then yeah, before that, the person that you were directly referred to is my mentor, and yeah, being able to work with him for the last 2 years has made such a difference. I mean, I was taking accounting classes with the college students that they were all fighting for the internships and the big accounting firms and that kind of thing. And I thought, you might be setting yourself up for a career, but you really are you really developing a relationship with somebody, a specific individual that is going to kind of take you under their wing, make sure, help you navigate this new industry, make sure that, not just give you work to do, but actually, foster you, show you how to do that work, help you develop those connections and that kind of thing. So yeah, the mentorship is critical to me.
Mhm.
I think that's the most critical aspect of starting off in any new field, especially when it's one like we're in, where it's the service oriented, relationship oriented kind of field, because it's one thing to say that you're competent at the work, but it's another thing to be able to develop that skill of talking to people and developing those relationships that you need to in order to actually succeed.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Good deal.
Exactly.
Good deal. So,
Mhm.
if the listeners want to get a hold of you, if you've got people out there in Southern California looking for commercial properties, or anybody that's just interested in how commercial real estate works, wants to talk to you more, how can they get a hold of you?
So we do have our general Orange County website, which is svnvanguard.com. But the best way to get a hold of me is my email. Just simple. I'm always on. It's on my phone. It's on my laptop. I can always get a hold of. You can always get a hold of me. So it's gonna be F as in Fernando. So F period Crisantos, Crisantos at svn like Sperry Van Ness.com. And I'm sure there'll be a link at the bottom of
Yeah,
the
we'll,
slide.
we'll definitely type that out and put that in the description and show notes. Yeah, for sure. But no, good deal, good deal. So we'll get your email address on there and get that website on there so people can find you and reach out to you. So, anything else you wanna throw out there for the listeners?
No, just if you're motivated about something, follow your dreams.
Good deal. Good deal, man.
Yeah.
Love that. Good way to close. Well, I just want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. I want to especially thank Fernando for coming on here, being a great guest. Like I said, we'll have the show notes in the description here, so all the links and Fernando's email address that we've talked about. Especially if you want to recommend some future guests for this show, definitely looking forward to that. I am Jeremy Wells with JWell CFO. You can find me at JWell CFO on pretty much all of the social media, and then. Yeah, again, thanks for listening.